Hey there, Black Sheep. Welcome back to the channel. Please forgive me if any of this sounds out of pocket or maybe a little too harsh, but I was dealing with a 5-day long on and off migraine while I was analyzing this Watchtower. So please forgive me for anything that I said under duress. Anyway, welcome to this week's episode of This Bites, the series in which we analyze the Watchtower literature and propaganda and how it implements the bite model. If you are unfamiliar with the bite model, it's the go-to method used to identify extreme control groups and cults, and the methods that they use to coerce, recruit, and maintain control of members. This week at a Kingdom Hall near you, Jehovah's Witnesses will be studying article number 20 of the May 2024 Watchtower Study Edition. The article is entitled, "Let Love Motivate You to Keep Preaching." The theme text is Mark 13:10, which says, "In all the nations, the good news has to be preached first." Although, if you were at a Kingdom Hall last week, or you watched last week's episode of This Bites, you may remember the last article of the Watchtower said there is no way that Jehovah's Witnesses will be able to actually fulfill this. There is no way Jehovah's Witnesses will be able to actually fulfill this in the complete literal meaning of the scripture. And so why are we still talking about it? Watchtower thinks maybe they discouraged everyone when they told them that they're not going to be able to preach to everyone in the entire inhabited earth. And it kind of doesn't matter if they do anyway, because God's going to make up his mind in the last second whether he approves of somebody or disapproves of somebody based on their heart condition. So instead of allowing Jehovah's Witnesses to feel like their work is irrelevant and a busy activity to keep them from looking deeper into their beliefs, Watchtower is going to instill that the work is urgent and needs to be preached first, like the scripture says. Paragraph 1 jumps straight in with some information control. The first sentence says, "At the 2023 annual meeting," and there's a footnote. The footnote directs the reader to jw.org, where they can view the entire annual meeting of 2023. This is information control. Extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda, including newsletters, magazines, journals, audio tapes, videotapes, YouTube, movies, and other media. Paragraph 1 continues saying, "Some may have an opportunity to side with Jehovah's people even after Babylon the Great is destroyed." Babylon the Great is a term taken from the Bible book of Revelation. In Jehovah's Witness doctrine, Babylon the Great is symbolic for the world empire of false religion. That means any religion in any country outside of the Watchtower organization is false if it's not run by the governing body. So these false religions in this false religious empire, Babylon the Great, they believe will be destroyed. Thought control. Labeling alternative belief systems as illegitimate, evil, or not useful. Paragraph 2 follows up with some mild fear-mongering. It says, "Time is running out. The good news would be preached in all the inhabited earth before the end." That refers to the complete end of Satan's wicked system of things. Time is running out. Jehovah's Witnesses live in constant fear of time running out, or rather, with the looming dread that at any moment God might bring about the end. Jehovah's Witnesses are not just your mildly annoying neighbors who knock on your door on Saturday and won't come to your birthday party or sign the card that's going around the office. They say their preaching is spreading good news, but they are, in fact, a doomsday cult. A doomsday cult is a religious movement whose members believe that an apocalyptic event will soon occur. Emotional control. Instill fear, such as fear of the outside world's enemies, losing one's salvation, leaving, or being shunned by the group. Paragraph 3. Why do we preach the good news? Love. Looks like they misspelled fear. Jehovah's Witnesses will say that their preaching work is done out of love, and it's because they, like the paragraph says, they're showing their love for their neighbor and Jehovah. But I would say it's maybe 30% that, and the remaining 70%, they have a fear that if they don't go out in their ministry work, they will be blood guilty and thus worthy of destruction themselves.
You look at your hands now, only God, as he looks at your hands in here and all those that are tied in, does he see blood there? The humans sitting next to you, they might have an idea because they know you well and you haven't been out in service in weeks. Well, guess what? Most likely God's seeing some blood all over your hands.
Behavior control, rewards and punishments used to modify behaviors, both positive and negative. Promote feelings of guilt or unworthiness, such as identity guilt, you are not living up to your potential, your family is deficient, your thoughts, feelings, actions are irrelevant or selfish. Social guilt. Subheading 1, we preach because we love the good news. Paragraphs 4 and 5 appeal to the reader's emotion. This is a thought fallacy. Thought fallacies are common errors in reasoning that will undermine logic by means of illegitimate arguments or irrelevant points. The one being used in these paragraphs is called appeal to emotion. This move attempts to manipulate an emotional response in place of a valid, compelling argument. They do this when they ask the question in paragraph 4. Can you recall how you felt when you received some good news, like the birth of a new family member or being offered a much-needed job? These are universal experiences that will elicit strong emotions: joy, relief, excitement. They then tell you in paragraph 5 that when you first heard the Watchtower's message, you felt that same way. You felt that same joy. You felt that same joy as when you looked in your newborn relative's eyes. You loved what you were learning, and you could not keep those precious truths to yourself. It doesn't ask if that's how you felt. It asserts. It tells you that's how you felt. Many Jehovah's Witnesses are born into the organization, so they're not going to remember their first time hearing or learning these teachings. My first Watchtower study that I remember attending, I was about 9, and it made me cry. I cried in the bathroom at the Kingdom Hall because what I was hearing from the Watchtower about the headship principle. I wasn't crying from joy, mind you. I was crying because I was a little girl who was told from one side of my family and my teachers that I was smart and that I could be whatever I wanted to be when I grew up. And then I'm here hearing from God that, no, I cannot. I have to be this very specific role. I am nothing but a lowly helper. I wasn't crying from joy, yet Watchtower insists this joy at hearing their doctrine was a universally positive experience. Memories are manipulated and false memories are created. Discourage individualism, encourage groupthink. Paragraph 6 shares a story of a man named Ernest. Another footnote lets us all know that this is a recycled story used before in a previous Watchtower from 2015. Again, this is information control, extensive use of cult-generated material. Paragraph 7 says that we love the truth so much that we want to share it with as many as possible. By calling their religion the truth, they are labeling alternative belief systems as illegitimate, false, and not useful. And the truth is one of the many Jehovah's Witness specific terms. This is loaded language. Loaded language is one of the 8 criteria for thought reform established by psychiatrist Robert J. Lifton. Here's a clip of cult expert Rick Allen Ross explaining this.
Loaded language, which means thought-terminating cliches that are used to sum things up in a way that stops critical thinking.
I said, this is the truth.
There were some soccer players who showed interest in the truth.
So I was born and raised in the truth.
The way of the truth is the best way of living.
When we accept the truth and make a personal dedication to God, in a general sense, we are sanctified or set apart from the world because we no longer fit into its mold.
So there are these cliches, these labels within a particular group that terminate critical thinking.
Thought control. Use of loaded language and cliches which constrict knowledge, stop critical thoughts, and reduce complexities into platitudinous buzzwords. Subheading 2. We preach because we love people. Is this the third or fourth time that they've insisted we love people so much? The more you say it, the more convincing it is. Paragraph 8. Like Jehovah and his Son, we love people. You love people. You do. You love them. It says it right here. Thought control. Encourage only good and proper thoughts. Those who are without God have no hope. They are drowning in life's problems. Information control. Deception. Deliberately withhold information, distort information to make it more acceptable, systematically lie to the cult member. This just simply isn't true. But because Jehovah's Witnesses are only meant to associate with other Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're constantly fed the narrative that there is no true happiness to be had outside the Watchtower organization, this lie is easy for them to believe. But it is a lie. There are plenty of happy, godless people who still have morals and hope and manage just fine with life's problems because they have coping skills and supportive friends and family who are allowed to show them love whenever they want, regardless of what the governing body has decided. Because the governing body minimize or discourage access to non-cult sources of information, including internet, TV, radio, books, articles, newspapers, magazines, media, critical information, former members, and keep members busy so they don't have time to think and investigate. Because they do this, all the Jehovah's Witnesses have to go off of is what they're being told here in the Watchtower. At the end of paragraph 8, it mentions the prospect of the real life, everlasting in God's new world. Emotional control. Instill fear, such as fear of losing one's salvation, the prospect, the chance, the maybe okay. Paragraphs 9 and 10 continue to emphasize the doomsdayness of it all. They mention the approaching end of this wicked system, destruction of the entire wicked system that will follow at Armageddon, world-shaking destruction. Again, instilling fear of losing one's salvation. It again uses the phrase Babylon the Great, which, as discussed, dismisses any other faith-based organization as false or illegitimate. The Watchtower then has a brief moment of honesty. The subheading and start of paragraph 9 that Jehovah's Witnesses preach because of their love for people, but we get a brief respite of Watchtower being honest in paragraph 9 when it says, "We have pity for our neighbors and our unbelieving family members." Pity. So I'd like to retract my statement from earlier. It's 60% fear, 30% pity, and 10% love, motivating the Jehovah's Witness preaching work. Subheading 3, we preach because we love Jehovah and his name. Paragraph 11, the most important reason is that we love Jehovah and his holy name. Oh, okay. So 30% your love for Jehovah, 30% your fear of Jehovah, 30% pity, and 10% love. But, I'm uninspired and infallible. Unlike the governing body, I will say sorry for not having got it exactly right the first time.
Then we are not embarrassed about adjustments that are made, nor is an apology needed for not getting it exactly right previously.
Paragraph 11 says, we owe him our very existence. We give him power, our power, when we used our time, energy, and resources to share in the ministry as fully as our circumstances allow. We owe him. Behavior control. Major time spent with group indoctrination and rituals, and or self-indoctrination, including the internet. Minimize or discourage access to non-cult sources of information, including keep members busy so they don't have time to think and investigate. Emotional control. Promote feelings of guilt or unworthiness, such as you are not living up to your potential, your family is deficient, your thoughts, feelings, actions are irrelevant or selfish, social guilt. You owe him. And what do you owe him? Whatever the governing body says that you owe him, or them, or Jehovah. How do you give your power to Jehovah? You devote all of your time, energy, and resources that your circumstances allow by doing what the governing body tells you to do, of course. Oh, And don't forget your money, your life insurance, and the deed to your home. You owe him that too. Financial exploitation, manipulation, or dependence.
The important decision we made was to follow the advice of the Apostle Paul, to really put aside a specific value. So we planned, we calculated our costs, analyzed the situation, we prayed on the subject, and then we saw the importance of making a will. Jehovah gave us everything. So I think we're just returning what Jehovah gave us. I've come to realize that, in general, that contributions are not a pocket condition, but a heart condition.
During our life or at our death, we could also donate certificates of deposit, stocks and bonds, as well as saleable real estate.
We are living in the days when unexpected events take place, just as the Bible foretold. So we decided to make charitable plans so that our material assets can be used to advance Jehovah's work.
Every worthwhile thing we have also comes from Jehovah. I feel privileged to return to Jehovah what I originally received from him.
The picture collage shows Jehovah's Witnesses in different preaching scenarios. There's missionaries, informal witnessing at a bus stop. That just means striking up a conversation with an unsuspecting stranger with the intent of introducing the Bible or jw.org at some point. It then shows another informal witness being given. And I mean, can you imagine some strangers sitting this close to you on the beach and starting to try to convert you when you're off work, unwinding at the beach? Jehovah's Witnesses are expected, even if they're on vacation, to attend the local Kingdom Hall and still find opportunities to preach this urgent message of theirs. They say over and over, you don't take a vacation from Jehovah. Behavior control, restrict leisure, entertainment, and vacation time. Paragraph 12. We want to have part in clearing Jehovah's name of the reproach that Satan has brought on it by his malicious lies. He's the almighty God of the universe. He doesn't need you for this. If you're an American, do you remember when nearly every mobile phone got a text from former President Trump? He had the power to authorize that. Why can't God talk to his people anymore? Just send a mass voice to all the inhabited earth. Just a little message in everyone's brain. Done. Everyone got the message. Why does the Almighty need little Caleb and Sophia to go out on Saturday morning to sanctify his name and protect it from malicious lies? Why? To show faith? This just seems inefficient. In our ministry, we are eager to stand up for our God, telling the truth about him, referring to their interpretation of the Bible and their doctrine as the truth about God, was again thought-stopping buzzwords and labeling alternative belief systems as illegitimate, evil, and not useful. It then reminds us that they believe the world will end, and your only hope for happiness and peace is to be a Jehovah's Witness. Behavior control, discourage individualism, encourage groupthink, instill dependency and obedience. Emotional control, phobia indoctrination, inculcating irrational fears about leaving the group or questioning the leader's authority. No happiness or fulfillment possible outside the group. Terrible consequences if you leave. Paragraph 13, they then use an emotional manipulation tactic called projection. Projection is a psychological defense mechanism where a person puts their own feelings, characteristics, or desires onto another. The governing body stated, the greatest honor that any of us could enjoy is that of being called one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Emotional control. Manipulate and narrow the range of feelings. Some emotions and or needs are deemed as evil, wrong, or selfish. You can only agree with this. There's no other option for a Jehovah's Witness. This is also an attempt to other Jehovah's Witnesses. Thought control. Require members to internalize the group's doctrine as truth. Adopting the group's map of reality as reality, instill black and white thinking, decide between good versus evil, organize people into us versus them, insiders versus outsiders, discourage individualism, encourage groupthink. It then has an asterisk leading to another publication from the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, the 2007 yearbook. This is again extensive use of cult-generated material. We feel so honored to be his witnesses that we seize every opportunity to make his name known. By doing so, we live up to the name that we are so proud to bear, Jehovah's Witnesses. Require members to internalize the group's doctrine as truth, instill black and white thinking, organize people into us versus them, insiders versus outsiders. Subheading 4. We will keep preaching until the end, because they need you to stay busy. 14 says, we may see still more people turn away from Satan's dying world and join us in praising Jehovah. Instill a fear, such as fear of thinking independently, the outside world, enemies, losing one's salvation, leaving or being shunned by the group. Paragraph 15, we have the privilege of sharing in a never-to-be-repeated proclamation. Yes, the privilege.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I have a great video about God's promise for the earth.
Oh, sweetheart, thank you. I'm not interested.
And you can read the Bible and watch videos.
Really busy, kid.
No real bite model here, except them telling you that it's a privilege and that's how you should feel. You're not allowed to feel any other way about it. It can't be a burden. It can't be the last thing you want to do on a Saturday or Sunday, because it's a privilege that you should be honored and grateful for. Paragraph 16, we will keep preaching with eagerness, urgency, and zeal until Jehovah says it is enough. This is an emotional abuse tactic called moving the goalpost. This is when a person, the governing body or Jehovah, essentially changes the rules of a situation in order to prevent the other person from succeeding. This could look like giving additional stipulations needed for success or highlighting disqualifying elements. A manipulator uses this tactic to keep the other person in a constant state of chasing their approval. Remember, Jehovah's Witnesses are in that constant state of chasing Jehovah's approval, the governing body's approval. And they should be willing to give their all. Time, free labor, money, and resources. That brings us to the end of the article. So let's tally up the score. We have 7 for behavior control, 7 for information control, 7 for thought control, and 7 for emotional control. That gives us a total score of 7,777, a number way cooler than any of the other numbers we've had so far. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like and leave a comment. I always do my best to reply, and I love hearing from you. The like helps the information get out to more people. Continue thinking freely, Black Sheep.